This is Skagasawa from Blackbraid, and you're listening to the Dan Chan Show.
Hey, John or Skagasoa, I've got to know how to announce you. How's things in upstate New York? I mean, I remember years ago, I went to the Adirondacks where you're from many years ago, and it's a beautiful part of the world, man.
Yeah. I'm doing great. You
So
can
how do
just
we
call me.
announce you? How do we call you? What do I call you?
You can just call me John for all interview purposes, I guess.
Okay, it's easier for some.
Yeah. Well, Skagasawa is more like a stage name. Or like my the name I use for Blackbraid, but no, none of my friends and family don't call me that
No.
ever. So you can just call me John. I'm
So
I'm fine with that.
is that like, where does that name come from? Why did you choose that?
Um, it's a lot of black metal, like the big classic artists have stage
Oh,
names,
of course.
like
Yeah, of course.
Hieronymus and Dead and
Yeah, of course.
Frost, all those guys. So I wanted to do the same thing. I just wanted to pick something that use something that connected more with my heritage and what
Of course.
Blackbraid stands for. So
Really.
I use that, which is Mohawk. It it means the witch hawk. It's from some old Mohawk folklore.
Right. Okay. That's cool. We'll get into that. I want to talk about that in a bit. But first off, your one man project, Blackbraid, is what you're here to talk about. Released their highly anticipated Blackbraid 1 album at the end of August. How's your reaction been? I mean, I, for one, have been really enjoying the album, mate.
Oh, yeah, it's been surreal, honestly. It's it's gotten so much attention and people are loving it so much. Like I really don't know what to say. I'm just insanely grateful. I never really expected the album to do this well, so it's been a wild ride for sure.
So, I mean, I understand you grew up in a Native American community, or so you didn't grow up in a Native American community, but you were adopted by white parents. Now, at what point did you start this project and decide on the lyrical content and everything, and how cathartic is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I probably this isn't a this is a relatively new thing. I probably started writing these songs about 2 years ago at this point, at the earliest, it might have even been less. I created the project officially in February.
Right.
Um,
Oh, wow. Really?
yeah, like February 1st, I made the website and the account and everything for it, and like February 6th, I think was the day I dropped my first single.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, I'd maybe been writing for maybe 2 or 3 months before that, maybe a little bit more,
Mm.
maybe 4 or 5 months, but yeah, it's all relatively new to me. You know, I've been a musician for most of my life, but I went like many years without playing in any bands or doing anything really. Life just happens, and
Mm.
I was busy with work and other stuff, and got married and bought a house. So it had probably been many, many years before I played any music when
Mm.
I started Blackbraid, and I was just working on these songs. I wrote them at home in my house by myself, and um, after they got to a certain point, and I thought, I was like, oh, these are pretty good. I think I should publish them. So
Really?
then
I'm
I
so
just,
glad you did, mate.
and that's how Blackbird was created, I guess.
Amazing. And you didn't expect the sort of like reaction it's had then?
No, not at all. I was kind of expecting the worst. I didn't really think it would get any attention because there's so much black metal out there,
Mm.
and so much of it is good too. I mean,
Mm.
it's pretty easy for great metal to go unnoticed. So
Mm. Mm.
regardless of if I thought the songs were good or not, like I kind of put them out there, just as a personal thing, and I just wanted to do it for myself. I didn't really expect it to gain any traction.
Mm. That's probably the best way, isn't it? And anything is a bonus. Now, I believe you played all the instruments on the record. Is that right? Apart from drums, did
Uh,
you play drums as well? Did I read that?
no, no. My producer does the drums. He's a good friend of mine, the guy who records everything for me.
Uh huh.
His name is Neil, and me and him will write the drums together. But he's a drummer, so he'll record them. Uh, and then I do everything else myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I just have to let my dog in. He's been scratching at the door, and I hate when he does that.
Oh no,
So
no worries.
he's just like
I have
labradoodle.
we we got a bunch of dogs up here too. So
We'll get into your area as well because I want to talk about that. I'm fascinated by the Adirondacks and everything. But okay, back to the one man project thing. How much pressure does it put on yourself as a one man project? Does it help or hinder? And you haven't got anyone else to push you and all that, especially on the writing side of things.
I think it helps a lot. I did it because it just seemed so much easier and stuff. I've been in other bands and stuff when I was younger, nothing serious, kind of just dicking around and stuff with friends.
Mm,
But it always like came down to the problems always just arise from working with other people as
mm,
kind of as self-centered as that sounds. Like I've seen so many of my friends fight over music and stuff, and so many, been in bands where, guys, best friends like hate each other after it because they
yeah,
disagree on musical stuff. And
I've been there.
I
I've done
just
that.
didn't, yeah, I just didn't feel like getting into that. It's hard to find guys you want to play with, and then you both, no one is gonna ever see completely eye to eye on art. Everyone has
Mm,
their own vision, creative vision.
of course.
So at some point, you're gonna have to kind of compromise with someone else. And with Blackbraid, I kind of just decided I really wanted it to be like my vision alone, and I didn't really want to put other people's influence into it. So it was
Mm,
kind of, yeah, it was pretty easy. It seemed like the easier thing to do for me was to just keep it by myself, and there's no pressure that way either. Like I
of
can take
course.
a year to write a song, or I can take
Mm.
a day,
And I
and there's
suppose,
no one bothering me.
and you've got the total adoration of yourself, that being proud of what you're putting out there as well. It must be very special knowing you did it all yourself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it comes back to that same thing. Like I kind of had a vision for what I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to have to share it with anyone, if
Yeah,
that
I
makes
understand.
sense. So
I
like,
understand. I understand. You were focusing the writing on the struggles of Native American and nature. How easy is it to write about these subjects for you?
I mean, it's very easy. I couldn't. I just write about it because I guess because it is easy for me and it's relevant.
Mm,
I
mm,
really just write about my life and my experiences, and um, I kind of, I want the songs to be genuine and things things that I've experienced or been through myself, and
mm.
I think it just makes for better music, and um, I feel better about the songs when they're done too. Like I know it came from the heart, and
Of
it
course.
wasn't something I made up or
Yeah.
something like that.
And when you're obviously alone or in your house with your family, when you write, is it music first or lyrics first, or how do you bring it together?
I usually write the guitars first. I mean, I've written songs in like any format you could imagine. I don't
Huh.
really stick to a certain formula, but for the most part, I'd say I write the guitars first, and the lyrics come after.
Do you think how is the native black metal scene? Is it hand in glove for the content of the lyrics and the musical form? Is it a natural connection for the two together?
It really depends. I'm everyone's so different in native black metal. I'm very nature based.
Mm,
Um, a lot of them are a little less nature based. A lot of them are more based in war and the occult and
yeah.
kind of the darker side of black metal. Um, Not to say that Blackbraid doesn't get dark, but it's a little it's a little more based in like love than hate, I would say.
Mm,
If that makes sense. And
yeah. I
a
understand.
lot of the other native guys are more raw. A lot of the other native projects are kind of more raw and dark, I'd say, but it's kind of all over the place. It's just when it comes down to it, it's a pretty big umbrella term. Like saying Native American black metal isn't any different than saying Norwegian black
Of
metal
course.
or
Yeah, I
Swedish
understand.
black metal. Like we're all just native guys writing music, and obviously there's like some similar tropes in all of our stuff, but a lot of it's very different too.
Do the community take to the black metal scene that comes out with the lyrics and stuff and the support for the community? Is that something?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you know just Native Americans as a whole, like as our demographic, by population, like a huge percentage of us are metalheads.
All right.
Natives love metal. So
Yeah.
obviously the ones that are listening to metal already, like most of them really love it. It's pretty refreshing to see like a native face,
Yeah.
um, in the in the in the world of metal, in extreme metal and black metal and whatever. There has been a little bit of crossover, like you know, natives communities that wouldn't really listen to metal or aren't big into metal have found me
Yeah.
through my art as well. And they're supporting me too, which is awesome. But
Mm,
I wouldn't say that happens too often.
mm,
It's mostly just like I do have a lot of native fans, but they're the ones that we're hardcore into Slayer and
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
They're already massive metalheads
Mm.
before I came along, so it's kind of just like some new native metal to
Of
them.
course, of course. And I suppose, I mean, you might, correct me if I'm wrong, but would you say someone like Chuck Billy from Testament is like a big spokesperson for the community?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize he was native, to be honest.
Mm.
Um,
I knew
there's
before you.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love Testament, but I didn't realize that. Um,
He's a big guy as well. I met him a few weeks ago in Barcelona at the show that they did here, and he's a big guy. He's huge.
yeah, I mean, when it comes to black metal and native stuff, like most of it is pretty small and underground. LA has a huge underground native metal scene. Um, but I wouldn't really say there's much of a spokesperson for us. Like, when I think of huge native black metal bands, like, um, the one that comes to mind first is probably Pan American Native Front.
Mm.
He's not that big even, but I think he's bigger than the rest of us. None of
Yeah.
us are that big.
Yeah.
Um, but like if I had to say if there was a guy out there who's like really kind of at the forefront of the scene, it would probably be him
Mm.
or Ifernach from
Yeah.
Canada has
Yeah.
been around forever and he's just consistently, pumping out album after album of awesome black metal. So
It's
I
not just from the reservations and everything, is it? The music comes from others, from cities, people like yourself as well. It's not just stuck to, the areas that they're from.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, we're all over the place. Not most natives in America aren't on reservations.
Mm.
Some, a good chunk of us are, but like if you look at just a one major city like LA or
Yeah, sure.
New York City or something, like look at how many Native Americans live there, and that's not a reservation. So like
Yeah, of course.
there's these big communities of us that people don't realize exist outside of the
Mm,
reservations.
mm, mm, mm,
Um, so I mean, yeah, we're literally, everywhere. I mean, I've never lived on a reservation in my life. I've always
mm.
lived in upstate New York.
It's
But
it's an interesting insight for, say, European. And I've been to America many times. I've seen like cities and reservations and things like that. But it's an interesting insight that what you say.
yeah, yeah, I mean, we're just out there living like normal people for the most part.
Of course.
Obviously, there's super high concentrations on the reservations, but at this point, like, we're we're everywhere, I
Yeah.
guess.
Good. Good. Now that takes me on to this. It's off record. That striking photo used on the Barefoot Ghost Dance on Blood-Soaked Soil single. Can you tell me about that picture? Because I couldn't stop looking at it. There's so much. I don't know. It's hard to explain the faces and everything. It's astounding.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting photo. That photo is actually very old,
Is it?
like 120 years old or something, I
No.
think.
Really? Jeez.
It was taken in 1907.
Wow.
The photographer's Edward S. Curtis. He's been dead for many years now. Um, but yeah, that photo was taken in 1907, kind of like right after the Indian Wars were finishing up, and you know, Native American culture was at an all-time low.
Mm.
We were pretty much on the verge of being exterminated. Um, and that photo was taken in Northern Cheyenne territory at a Sundance. Um, and you can kind of just see the pain in their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Wounded Knee wasn't even 15 years ago or something when
Mm.
that photo had been taken. It was less than that. So,
Mm.
um, Little Bighorn was only maybe 20 years in the past. So
Wow.
there's all these like really fresh, and they were just we were still being carted onto reservations at that time. In like the
Mm,
early 1900s was like when the last of us were being rounded up. So
mm.
it was just like a really dark time for us, and it's a pretty
But
dark song,
yeah,
and it just seemed to fit,
fits.
I think.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Now, you said recently that people are bored of the black metal tropes out there right now. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's more just me personally. Like,
Mm.
I don't know. Some people love, and it's not to say that I don't either. Like, I always listen to new shit, and
Yeah, yeah,
I love all kinds of black metal, but at this point, there's been so many records made, in like a certain style,
mm.
that it's just, I think a lot of people are looking for something new, like, if as like a satanic black metal band, or maybe a Norse or
Yeah.
black metal band or something like.
Mm.
It's not to say that the music isn't good, because it's great. It's just like there's so many thousands of bands doing it that at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then you also have the classic ones, like when bands like Mayhem and Gorgoroth have been around for
Yeah,
20 years and
yeah,
are
yeah,
still touring and
yeah,
stuff, like,
yeah.
and you got to compete with them too.
Well,
It's
I was at the Watain Abbott gig in Barcelona last weekend. It was amazing. You know, it was incredible. And to think how many years between them they've been going, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like I love that stuff, and like Abbott is, both
Brilliant.
of those guys actually, Abbott
Yeah.
and Watain, have been such major influences on me.
Well, that's interesting because I was
And
going to go into, I was going to ask you what got you into the metal scene in the first place and how did you find the more extreme side of the genre?
I think the first extreme metal band I heard was Opeth.
Yeah, right.
Um, it was Morning Rise actually. That record's really special to me, but that kind of like opened the gates for me. Like before that, I was listening to a lot of like more mainstream US metal, like Lamb of God and Metallica and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I discovered that Opeth album maybe, man, I must have been maybe 12 years old or something. I don't
Right.
know,
Okay.
13. Uh, but that was really it. Like that kind of introduced me to like the more obscure side of the European scene, and
Mm,
right about that time, I discovered like Dissection and Gorgoroth and stuff shortly after that, and
mm.
that was really it. Like once I heard, Opeth was the first one, but I think Dissection was the one that really got me hooked on black metal specifically. Immortals really up there. Like I loved Immortal from a very early age. There's a
Yeah.
lot of them, but
Yeah, of course. Of course. Now, living in the middle of nowhere, do you literally live in the middle of nowhere? It seems to me that what I've read, you do live like quite remotely. Do you find it the inspiration around you? And I've got to ask, are those soundscapes at the beginning of the album, were they recorded locally by you?
yeah, yeah.
I can
All
have
of
picture you
the
walking down on a Sunday morning with your mic or your iPhone, getting right close to the water, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, they were all done by me. All of the sound effects or whatever on the album, and those I actually shot my own video. If you saw,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, me
yeah.
between like me and my wife do pretty much everything together.
Brilliant.
She does a lot of my videos and stuff. Um, we don't have a label, so we pretty much do it all. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
for River of Time, there's that lyric video
Mm,
that I released a few months ago.
yeah.
That has the shots of the river
It's
and the
beautiful.
ice.
Yeah,
I shot that all myself.
yeah.
At a river, pretty close to here that I love, and um, so anyway, when I was taking that video for the lyric video, the uh the audio of the river is taken right off of that stuff. I just recorded it the same day, so it's from that same river in that video, actually.
Really, that's cool. Now you're very much into the land in a big way. You know, you hunt, you tan, and you do taxidermy. Are the animals that you do taxidermy, are they hunted by you, and are they local animals? Should we say?
Yeah, they're all local. Um, Usually they're not hunted by me.
Right. You get them
Um,
given to you, or do you buy them, or?
usually they're just given to me. Tanning is a pretty lost art, at least here in the States.
Mm, mm,
A lot of people hunt for their own food, but a lot of people don't save the pelt.
Mm,
Um, the tanning aspect of it is kind of becoming a really lost art, especially doing it with your hands, without a machine or anything, because
mm,
I don't use a machine. So anyway, the hunter, fisher gatherer mindset or
yeah.
whatever is pretty eco-friendly.
Mm,
Most hunters, they're hunting because they want to work for their food and they don't want to support, big corporate
mm,
grocery stores, and um, a lot of them uh, have immense respect for the earth and stuff, just like I do.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
get along with that community pretty well, and I've been tanning hides and doing taxidermy for many years too. So
No.
a lot of those guys don't want to see their stuff go to waste. So most of the stuff I get is not from me. Like in hunting season, it starts only in another month here. Hunting season will be going full throttle.
And what do you hunt?
Um, Deer is a big thing here, whitetail. But I
Yeah.
mean, you can hunt everything where I am. You can hunt coyote year round here, black bear,
Wow.
bobcat, you name it.
Wow.
Whitetail's a big thing. If you're hunting for meat, that's what
Mm.
most people go for is the deer. And that's mostly what I end up tanning too. But a lot of the times, these guys around here know that I tan and they don't want to waste stuff.
Of course. That's cool.
So if they get a deer and they butcher it and they skin it or whatever, instead of throwing out the pelt, they'll just come over here and they'll drop it in
I
my
can,
driveway.
I
And
can picture your house now, mate.
yeah,
Heads on the wall, skins on the floor. Come on, tell me it is.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, I probably take in, anywhere from 5 to 10 pelts a year of animals that I don't hunt. Like most
Mm,
years, I don't even hunt myself. I hunt a lot of duck, but
right,
I haven't shot a deer in a decade,
right.
um, because these guys just they give it to me, and
Yeah,
it's more
yeah, of
about the art to me.
course.
Just to be able to do that and take the pelt and do the tanning and stuff and not waste it.
Of
I
course.
could care less if it was me hunting it or them.
Yeah, yeah, of
I
course.
just want to be able to do the art.
Now, living where you do, quick one, this one. What's the weirdest or strangest thing you've experienced there? I mean, you read some stories from time to time from these places, but has anything happened to you, in the dead of night or anything strange or noises? You've gone, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some pretty shit.
Go on.
But I've been living in the wilderness my whole life, so it doesn't really phase me. Like there's kind of always like an explanation. Like for instance, like
Oh,
I was camping earlier this year in the spring with my buddy who's not up here as much. Like he has a cabin in the Adirondacks, his family, and I was over there with him. But um, they all thought they heard the Sasquatch,
all right.
and I was pretty much able to show them that it was like a fisher cat. I don't know if you've ever heard of fisher cat, but
No,
they're
no.
terrifying. It's like a cross between a weasel and a dog, maybe.
Oh, really? I have to Google
Um,
that.
they eat chickens and stuff. It's kind of like a mongoose. It looks like a little bit,
Right.
but
I
they
see. I see.
obviously live in the mountains.
Yeah.
But they
Wow.
make these terrifying screams and shit. And
Nice.
you would think someone's being murdered. Like it's really terrifying at night.
Fuck, I bet. I
And
bet.
like stuff like that. Like everyone
Yeah.
was terrified, and I went
Freaky.
outside and I was like, yeah, this is a fisher cat.
Fish cat. Yeah.
But I think so. It's hard to phase me because I've been hearing fisher cats scream at night for most of
Yeah.
my life. So
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
uh, I'll tell you one thing I did see once that was probably the scariest thing I've ever seen in the woods. Um, I saw a deer hanging inside out in the top of a tree.
What?
Um, like the predator does in
Yeah.
those movies, where he hangs the
What?
carcass inside out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what that was too, actually.
Go on.
'Cause
We need
I
to know an
know,
answer.
I've been living in the woods my whole life. Mountain lions like to
Drag
they'll
their prey up the
drag
tree.
their prey up there to hide them.
Yeah.
So they gorge themselves, and when they're too full to eat anymore, they don't want like a bear coming to take the rest or something.
They're
So
saving
they'll
it for
hide it.
later.
Yeah, they save it in a tree. But it's even scarier because when you see that in a tree, you know that he's nearby
Yeah,
somewhere
exactly. Yeah, he
and
wants
he's
his dinner
watching
again.
you.
He wants it. He don't take
Yeah.
his food. Don't take his food. Now, here's an interesting one. How do you envisage the fan or the listener listening to your music? Do you want them to be walking through the woods with their headphones on in dusk, or do you want them to be sat there by the fire with a red wine, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I mean that would be awesome if it's it's pretty nature based music and
Not on their commute to work, not on a bus in the middle of the city.
yeah,
You want to be out in the nature.
ideally, yeah. But I mean, I'm just happy if people listen to it. You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
it goes both ways. Like part of it is also me wanting to kind of reach those people, who maybe are on a bus or a plane or something, or
Mm,
have spent their entire life in, living in,
cities. Mm,
downtown Manhattan or something, and have
yeah,
never seen an oak tree in their life.
yeah, yeah, of
Um,
course.
Obviously I want people to connect with nature, but I also kind of want it to work the other way, kind of bring nature to people who maybe don't
Sure,
have it in their
sure.
life.
Now, live wise, what's on the horizon? Who's in the live band with you?
So right now I got a bunch of great friends who play with me. They're all guys who are involved with Night of the Pale Moon. I don't know if you
Hmm.
know anything about that.
No, no, but I'll check it out.
Um, Night of the Pale Moon's an indigenous black metal label
Oh, right, okay,
uh, based in LA,
right, okay.
and I've been friends with him since before Blackbraid, and he's put out a bunch of native black metal albums already through his tiny little label there, and they're all I got a bunch of respect for the bands he works with and the other labels and shit that they
Mm,
work with.
mm,
So
mm.
when I decided to play live, I knew I kind of wanted to bring other native guys into the lineup with me.
Right, yeah.
So it was kind of a no-brainer. It was really easy. I kind of just hit him up and was like, "Hey, let's see if we can get a live band together." And
And how is it? How many shows have you done so far, and how many are on the horizon?
we played our first show maybe 2 weeks ago.
All right,
Um,
cool, fresh.
in LA, we played and it was sold out. Uh, we have another sold out show. Both of our first two shows sold out really fast. That
Brilliant,
was insane.
awesome,
Next one's next week though. A week from Friday, we'll play in New York City,
nice,
in
nice.
Brooklyn at St.
Yeah,
Vitus,
well,
with Pan American Native Front.
brilliant. We'll get you to Europe soon, surely. I hope.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Now, with this in mind, do you ever think you'll have a full time band?
I mean, I'm already halfway done writing the second album. It's definitely just me doing the writing.
Yeah,
Um, and they like that too. I don't think they care. They all have their own solo projects and stuff. So,
you got to call it Blackbraid
uh,
too, right? Surely, like Danzig, going through the numbers,
yeah, yeah,
please.
yeah. But yeah, they just play live at the moment. They don't write any of the music, and I'm
Sure.
gonna keep it just me for the time
Course,
being.
for the time. Who knows for the future? Now, this is a non-musical question, but as a big football fan, I want to ask you what you think to the Washington change of name. Is it long overdue?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's a this is a hard one to talk about. I don't see personally. I don't care that much.
Mm.
I'm happy it happened, but it
It didn't
wasn't
bother. Did it
like
bother
at the
you?
top of my list either.
Did it bother
Um,
people as much as the press and everything made out?
I think so, but it's also it's kind of it's a slippery slope because I almost think it's hard to say.
Mm,
Uh, some people just care about shit more than others.
sure.
Do I? I'll say like I think it was definitely in bad taste and like
Mm, mm,
slightly offensive,
mm.
but I also never was offended by it personally.
Right.
Like there's just so much stuff out there like that.
Mm,
Uh, like Indians being commercialized. Um, and yeah, it's a little up and offensive, I guess.
mm.
But me personally, I just don't care.
Right.
Like
Fair enough.
I don't have time to care about
No.
that stuff.
Fair enough.
There's if I'm gonna get offended about something, it's gonna be something more serious than
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm happy they changed the name, just because
It's the right thing to
it
do.
was a big deal for a lot of other people,
Yeah. Sure.
but it didn't really, you know, personally, I mean, I'm glad they did it, I guess, but I
Mm,
really couldn't have cared
yeah.
less. I wasn't one of the guys asking them to
No.
change it either.
Sure. Sure. Now, what's on your bucket list? What's it going to take to realize, you've come really far in music, a certain gig, a certain festival, a certain, I don't know, collaboration, whatever. What would it take?
Um, that's pretty hard to say. I don't know. It's already been pretty great.
Yeah.
Getting to Europe. with maybe one of those European greats, like, you know, to play in Europe with Immortal or Watain or
Yeah,
someone like that
yeah,
would
yeah, yeah,
really be the pinnacle for us, I think.
yeah. I think that would be
To kind of say we made it
sure. And fine,
outside of the US market.
of course. Now, do you have a message to new people tuning into your music for the first time? What you want to say to them?
Man, I don't really have much of a message. I'm just grateful that people listen to it, you know?
Cool.
And thanks for listening. And I hope they like it from the
Yeah.
bottom of my heart,
I'm
you
sure
know?
they will. I'm sure they will. Now, I'm expecting big things for you in the future, mate. You know, I think we'll be seeing and hearing lots of you for years to come. Thanks for joining me on the show, John. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure.